Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call right now. Hey everyone. Sorry about that. I just got a call from someone. I forgot to put my phone on silence. But hey, it's me, Nuke. I just wanted to talk today about a certain tweet that I'd made that caused a lot of commotion on Twitter. As you know, once in a while I do like to cause commotion, but this one kind of surprised me. Well, didn't surprise me that much, but excuse me, it did. Kind of catch me off guard in terms of like how people react to a certain truth or certain statistical truth that um, I have kind of seen in my own life, but then I kind of corroborated with stats and then other people's kind of you know um, experiences, other experiences in the military, all that stuff. Kind of like I learned about marriage and how much people how easily it falls apart, and and then how unhappy people that really fight for their marriage can actually be. Um, so yeah, let's get right into it, guys. Sorry for being late. Tadashi had gotten into a little like a thorny bush, like a prickly bush, while I was walking him, and he started limping a little bit or something. I think he got caught or something, and then I kind of got worried, so I made sure he was okay, and he's all right. So, anyways, got a couple comments on here. Let's see what we have. Baker. She's entering. You can be her beta male. In the middle, you can fail, or she finds someone better. And in the end, there's great divorce, and want. She can want her groove back. Okay. Um, I don't really understand what you're saying. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with you're trying to say that, or you can be her beta male. In the middle, you can fail, or she finds someone better. And then great divorce, and she can. Okay. I kind of understand what you're saying. Um, Thanks for the comment. You got another one here. The best plan to have a successful marriage is a scam nowadays. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that. The best you get is have a controlled financial, emotional situation with or without her. Okay. Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I'm going to assume that English is not your first language, but I understand what you're saying. Okay. All right. Sorry, I had to fire off a text. Um, that's a fire title. Thanks. CZ says there are three kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. Origin attributed to some unknown bloke in the 19th century. Okay, yeah, well, yeah, statistics can be spinned or manipulated, or they can be used for purposes to, it. You can't really trust statistics. I agree, right? But you know what? The statistics I do trust are the ones that aren't flattering. The ones that kind of like both sides of the argument neither want to discuss, right? Those are the statistics you can't trust, the neutral ones, the ones that show you data that doesn't further either side of the argument's equation, right? And that's why this marriage statistic strikes me. First off, it's corroborated by Aaron Clary in his book. And number two, this statistic doesn't support any arguments in terms of um in terms of like what it represents, right? The trads, the whatever group it doesn't really help anyone's argument. So you can say it's trustworthy, right? We have Chunky Gecko that says, I think this happiness people speak of only exists in hindsight. Yeah. Happiness is like almost, it's like a container word now. Everyone has their own definition of happiness. Chunky Gecko says, unless you're capable of appreciating the small things in life and cherishing every day, which is hard to do in my opinion. Yeah, with the tempo we have in life and how like fast life moves nowadays. Yeah, it's really hard to appreciate the small things, the mother nature, a food, your favorite food, a new song, that those things kind of like fall into the background. um let me see what else I got. Uh, on a side note, Golden Kamui's episode today was too funny. Who's Golden Kamui? I don't know who that is. Kate, hey, how you doing? Hey, I knew since I was 6 that I didn't want marriage or kids, so I've been exempt from the existential crisis other experience on this. I imagine it's tough for many. Yeah, it's tough for many. It's tough for me too. I mean, it's not easy to, to deal with, especially if you're coming from a traditional marriage yourself, your parents. So Chunky says, "How many Dear John letters did you see when you served? In the aftermath for the men, did you talk to Terrence Pop yet? Vet to vet, he'll understand you." Oh man, I got some good stories. If you guys are down for the stories, I will. I will tell you tonight. So if you guys want to know some of my Navy divorce stories that I've seen, just let me know. The Ocean Man, I watched my parents' marriage die in real time. Yeah. Now, see, that's another side of it. Like, there's probably a lot of kids growing up or who have grown up. Maybe some of you where you would have preferred your parents divorced, so they could both be happy, right? But see, Alex Patino, how you doing, Alex? Marriage is a partnership of a man and woman in order to raise children because it has proven to have the better outcome of people growing up right. Today in 2023, that no longer exists. Yeah, the faster you accept that, the better off you'll be. Chucky says Golden Kamui is an anime. Okay. Um, Man, I forgot the name of the anime I was watching the other day. I was watching it with a fine lady, and she told me about, I think it's Kakabe or Karabe, something like that. Something with zombies in the Industrial Revolution and trains. It's pretty good. Balthasar says, "Send the stories, Nuke." Yeah, I'll tell you guys some stories. Bring on the stories. Got it. Even though in July 26th, I will be celebrating my 10th anniversary with my wife, the only thing I can say is where my wife and I are from, the values we have. Such marriage cannot be repeated. Yeah. I'm gonna guess you're Hispanic, Alex, and maybe you're from Mexico, Central America, something like that. That's what I get. Yeah. Those countries take marriage a little more seriously for other reasons. But congratulations, everyone! Congratulate Alex on his 10th anniversary. And Alex, I wish you luck in your marriage, and I hope that it lasts forever. Right? You seem like you know what you're doing, so props to you, man. Balthasar says, "I've been through the divorce machine, but people can still be successful if men know and recognize their dangers. Frame and passive dread is required." Yeah, frame and passive dread are like the cornerstone of a marriage, not love. Love. I don't. It's another one of those words that everyone has a different um, um, everyone has a different definition of. So Alex says, "I'm a veteran, U.S. Army, made it to E6, staff sergeant, and God's all the divorce horror stories I saw." Yeah, man. Anybody who served has seen some crazy, crazy stuff, and some of them were like, you even get sucked into them because it's just it's just not pretty. Anyone who's gone to the military really has a healthy fear of marriage, simply because of what he saw sitting on the side of his friends, coworkers, boss, people under you, what they had to go through. Um, Balthasar says, "What is love?" Yeah, that's a good song, by the way. Kate Ann says, "My parents have been happily married since 1972. Truly amazing people, full of love. I'm grateful to have that." Yeah, it's definitely a privilege. Sometimes, if your parents love each other, it's a privilege. But if they don't, it could be a hell too. Chunky Gecko says, "I'll wait for another time so I don't need to derail this conversation. Let me know when you want an anime watch list recommendation." Yeah. Can you DM me on Twitter? Um, and don't make try to give me no more than 5 because then I get overwhelmed. Nuke, I'm from Mexico, state of Guanajuato. Oh yeah, Guanajuato. There's a veterinary university. A friend of mine goes there. I heard that's a really good place. I mean, all of Mexico is beautiful in its own way, but Guanajuato's really pretty. And I'm going to visit Mexico in 2 months. I'm going to go on vacation and visit Mexico. So, and then Mexican women are some of the best women on earth. I'm convinced. I'd say it's a fight between like maybe East Asian women and Mexican women in terms of like family oriented and stuff. But that's what I've seen. Alex says a lot of soldiers got married just to get BH. I was one of the few who lived in the barracks for 10 years as an E5. Yeah, man. I made it to E5 and I got out. I was I got made it to E5 and then I got out, did 6 years in the Navy as a nuke. Dark Knight Dead, what's up, man? Nice to see you in the chat. Just don't say dumb crap like Pearl says that we should get rid of divorce. We live in the freest time for men and women. Marriage can be a bad deal for everyone involved, not just men. Yeah, like no fault divorce is, man, that's a great thing to have, right? And I'm gonna get into that too. Chunky Gecko says, not on social media, unfortunately. I can recommend five in the comments if you want genres you like. Um, I like hero, like your typical hero story, come up from nothing. I like I like zombie stuff, sort of like Demon Slayer, kind of like zombie demon stuff, and like anything with maybe detective stuff, and then anything with like swordsman, kind of old school masculine, like Berserk stuff like that. Current with a girl from Peru, Rockstar Dream. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get into all these things. I know. Hopefully, I don't go too long on you guys. And you guys can get back to your lovely Monday morning. But I just want to discuss this tweet. Let me see if I can pull it up. Uh, yes. Hold on. Let's see. One second, guys. I've been tweeting like crazy today. Okay, so the tweet was, let me pull it up for you guys. Present. Share screen. Okay. All right, so here you go, guys. So this is my tweet. One of the heaviest things I ever read. Statistically speaking, you will never be happily married, right? And that was from the Book of Numbers, guys. Like that. That excuse me. That was from the Book of Numbers by Aaron Clary. I've been reading it, and it's basically the Book of Number. Or sorry, Book of Numbers. The Menu. I'm sorry, that's another book. The Menu by Aaron Clary, and basically, the menu is just what the title, like what's on the menu for young men, and then there's a chapter for young women as well, or women in general. What's on the menu, right? And the thing is, like, we don't want to accept what's on the menu. We try to make fantasies about what's not on the menu, right? So the menu is basically what are your options for living life, and one of them and a lot of people are starting to argue and starting to notice that marriage in the traditional sense may very well be off the menu, right? And a lot of people fight this constantly, right? And a lot of people come up with theories. A lot of people say, well, should, and then start using these container words like should, if we do this, if we gotta like convince fathers to be in the home. We got to like this, blah blah blah. And then you have the trads with the longhouse, and it's just dumb. Really, we're just nothing is being solved here, right? So you go down the list. Some of these people are my friends, but I have Aaron Clary saying it's 14% chance. Um, and then you have people who are kind of being facetious, like spread the word to the young men and boys. They need to know that girls will still have germs after they get older. My friend Alan says, statistically speaking, one will not get into Harvard either. Does not mean people don't try, right? And there's a lot of logistical fallacies with these kind of equivalencies that people use for marriage. And then people say marriage is not about happiness. It's never been. Um, and then someone says, why do you act like there's no control over this outcome? If it's 14%, that's about the same as being upper middle class, metabolically healthy, right? So yeah, then people are kind of like these weird false equivalencies or things that don't have anything to do. And then someone ad- accused me of being addicted to sex or something. I think for some reason he thinks I'm addicted to pornography or soft harem. Sure. Well, the solution long enough to get find the right one until that happens. Just another statistic. Okay, and then you have the guy who usually gives what the female answer is like, work harder and find, realize when you have the right one. I'm like, okay, great, cool. Because women don't have any agency. Women should just All of the work for a relationship, for finding, vetting, everything should be on the man, and the woman is just perfect the way she is. It's just it's the traditional. It's every what every woman ends up saying is it's all on the man, whether it be traditional, feminist, dating coach, all of them, marriage counselors, they all do the same thing. They put the onus and the responsibility on you as a man. And I want to say that's really BS. Like it's really BS because first off, you're assuming that women have zero agency, you know, like zero agency in their life, that they just sit there and they don't make decisions. They just react. They just react to everything, right? Which is BS. That's not true. And you guys know that, and a lot of people know that. So they're not buying this stuff, right? Um, moving on. Okay, then you have, the other side of people that are just like, no such thing. I'm prepared to bet that most marriages aren't happy, but comfort keeps them there. Yeah, comfort keeps people in places they don't necessarily want to be, but they're just so comfortable that. Then we have the Luke says, create wealth and take your family to a small town in Eastern Europe. Right, like that doesn't solve anything. Obviously Eastern Europe is probably beautiful, but it does not solve anything. Here, okay, here's another facetious one. Here's an even heavier one. Statistically speaking, guys under 6'4" will never experience the kind of affection girls give to 6'4" guys. This just made a bullet hole through your heart. How do I know? Because I'm not 6'4". I don't know what he was trying to say there. Maybe I'm not smart enough, but it sounded facetious. And then we have the goal of marriage isn't happiness; it is holiness. And then someone says it's not applied to every country. I agree. It always seems like such a great idea at the beginning. Yep, it always does. And then someone asks me, am I married? Chances for second word, and then that is true. Second and third marriages are statistically more likely to fail. Someone says, I don't even think that was ever part of the marriage. Don't marry someone emotionally unintelligent, physically lazy, or selfish. And I bet that raises 80 to 80%. No, it doesn't. Statistically speaking, I won't be fit and make six figures either. And yet I'm like, yeah, man, so do I. So do I. And women walk out of my life all the time. Like there's just like I'm trying to save lives here, guys. Like this is very important that people understand that I'm not attacking marriage. I'm not attacking marriage. I am, or the institution of marriage. I am attacking people freaking thinking that marriage is some kind of end goal of happiness and idealism where once you get there, everything in your life will be okay. It never stops, guys. The work never stops. Whether you're single or married, you cannot bank your happiness on a woman's loyalty and affection in life. You cannot bank your happiness on that. Women leave for any reason. And that's why we lost Fred. If you guys read the first chapter of the menu, we lost Fred because of that, because he made a covert contract in his head where it's like, yeah, I'm a baller, I'm a playboy, I'm tall, jacked, and handsome, I make a whole bunch of money, and I got girls around me all the time. I'm dating beautiful women. But then he ended his life because simply couldn't accept that what was on the menu. He could have lived a beautiful life. He could have had kids. He could have had maybe maybe a decent baby mama. But he didn't accept the fact that it was what was on the menu, and that's what I'm trying to. Like the menu is like 14% happiness rate for marriage. That's on the menu. That's proven. That's a survey done. That's proven. Um, and and if it's not proven through statistics, talk to people. You'll see that like most marriages, they're just, especially I would say like millennials and Zoomer marriages, you know, it's just nothing in society is supporting marriage. No, all the institutions, religion, laws, all that stuff is gone. All those pillars of marriage that kept um, marriages together are gone, right? And now everyone has to face the fact that love doesn't carry a marriage forever. You have to choose the person every day now. You don't just, hey, I'm going to stay with them because if I left them I'd be poor. Or I'm going to stay with them because if I left them um what would my family think or what would my church think? That's all gone. No one cares anymore. So you have to understand that the menu now is that marriage is something that nothing in society is supporting. No one is supporting marriage outside of you and your game and your dread and your inner game and um whatever else, whatever tactic or tool you use to keep your wife happy. And at the end of that, will you actually be happy? Is marriage something you want? Questions to ask yourself instead of subscribing to an institution that no longer benefits you as a guy. Why not ask the question, do I really want to be married? You know, or do I really want to sign a paper that says I'm married? Maybe I just want a common law marriage. Maybe I want to be single my whole life. Ask these questions, because if you don't, um, you're going to be stuck in a situation where you wish you would have asked these questions. And now, so let me catch up on some of these chats. Uh, Chunky, so let me get the screen off. Um, okay. Not on social media, unfortunately. I can recommend 5 in the comments if you want journals you like. Yeah, just put them in the comments. I like classical, like I like swordsman animes, mystery, um, yeah, stuff like that. Hero, I like cyberpunk animes too. Those are fun. So stuff like that. Thank you, man. Got through the. Oh yeah, I already got through this. Okay, Ann says Darker and Dead Pearls are freaking idiot. Seeing Ethan Klein humiliate her was funny. That's what happens when you don't read the source material, right? I'm sure Pearl's a good person, but like you have to read the source material. You have to. You can't just rely off the statistics. And I know everyone's like, well, this show is about a statistic. I'm like, yeah, but I'm backing it up with a lot more than just study. Like, and that's the part that everyone leaves out. Like we're the red pill has been commandeered. You know and sock puppeted now by people that don't have any experience with the opposite gender, right? I've been over like 100 dates in the last 2 years. 100 dates, and I've had lots of experience. Am I cutting out? So what makes you think that they're more? These are people that have like polyamorous relationships, which 99.9% of men don't have. So now they pull statistics and they're like, well, I can pull this statistic making you wrong, so I'm right. And I'm like, dude, what would make your argument more believable if you actually talk to me in a way that looks like you have experienced women beyond, you know, um, beyond using your clout and fame to get women. I mean, like actually being a normal guy with a normal life and getting out there and meeting women, right? But that don't ever happen. The whole shtick of marriage is if both husband and wife have a shred of set of morals. If neither one have morals, marriage is doomed from the start. Yeah, you need some kind of like, um, you need some kind of like basis beyond I like you to keep a marriage together, right? And a lot of the times, morality is not really a thing in today's society. Like everyone uses morality against the other gender. Um, but there's very few people that you can see eye to eye morally wise and be like, yeah, we're here. Like this is, I was talking to a female friend of mine yesterday, and there's a lot of things that me as a man, and this isn't like I'm not telling other people to have these morals, and I'm not asking people to agree with me, right? But I will say, excuse me, there's certain things that if I see in a person, then it's just as much as how hot and perfect they are. It may or may not be able. I may or may not be able to commit to that person simply because it's a moral issue, right? Like if a young woman, if I find out she had an A word or got rid of a baby, right? My conscious brain is like, not a big deal. Maybe she was in a bad place in her life. But my uncle, my other side is like, "Ah, man, like, how do you get there? How do you get to the point where you do it, you do something like that? I understand that people are young and they made bad decisions, but and then it's worse because a lot of women brag about that stuff, and I like no matter what religion or morality you have, that's not something that we should accept as men. You know, maybe you don't care if a girl gets the A word or gets rid of her child, right? But there has to be a line crossed somewhere, and I think that line should be is crossed when um a girl starts bragging about having done something like that, or being or very open about it. I think that's something that should be kept to yourself. I don't know. That's just an example, guys. But like, it's tough to meet a girl with the morality, a certain level of morality that appeases or like that jives with yours. Because right now, women are just they're not they're being pushed to be whatever. There's no like lines that they have. They women aren't really moral anymore, right? Guys are moral because we that's just who we are, right? It's in our biology. We understand that morals are like our foundation of like a tribe. So we understand that there's certain rules and regulations within a tribe that we have to follow, or we all die, right? And then women do take these morals, but they only take them if it benefits them too as well. That's just the way they work, right? Like, um, you'll see a lot of these podcasts and shows where it's like, I, I personally, my moral is work hard, nuke, because you need to work hard. It's a good thing. You may not always get what you want out of your hard work, but it's important to work hard. A female will be like, well, yes, work hard for me so I can be comfortable, right? And you see how that like it's more like their solipsism, their innate solipsism comes in and says, hey, yeah, work hard for me. But for me as a man, I'm like, no, 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 no. I work hard for me, but if you want to be enjoy the spoils of my hard work in life, then you need to be on my program. I don't work hard for anyone just because. Anyway, I got off a little tangent. Um, let's see. Spencer says, I mean, what's new? Women wanting power with no responsibilities. Yeah. And they won. They have it. Feminism won. It's on its third victory lap. I keep saying feminism is on its third victory lap right now. This is insane that people are like still calling out feminism and women's behavior. I'm like, no, we lost a long time ago. We turned over society to women a long time ago, right? The problem is now is that the oldest millennials are hitting 40, 41, right now. So what does that tell you? Like now women are starting to feel the consequences of all the third victory lap of feminism, right? But other than that, they won. They like women beat the crap. Like feminism beat the crap out of the status quo, and it's not going anywhere um anytime soon, right? So at the end of the day, you have to really kind of let it go. Like they won, right? Look at your job, how it's set up. Look at your life. Look at your dating life. Look at everything. And at the end of the day, you're even paying taxes for a lot of these. Um, you're paying taxes for so women can be even more comfortable and have even more opportunities. So feminism won. So like we can let this go, guys. However, you don't have to participate in setting yourself on fire in a marriage so just so you can keep your wife warm. You don't have to do that. Um, Balthasar says, location does not fix frame. Exactly. You can go anywhere. As a matter of fact, you can be a single man, go overseas, and you can still get fleeced and tricked and cheated on or whatever because you just didn't have frame. You need to develop frame first before you go anywhere in life. You know, make sure that you understand that you are the most important person in your life, and that is part of the reason we're talking is because a lot of these guys on my on these replies are really mad and they're being facetious and all that stuff because they don't know any way else to be than to serve the gynocentric social order. And getting married to now, at least to some extent, it's serving the gynocentric social order because there is nothing in it for you besides you can say I am married and then brag to other internet feminists to say I'm married, accept me, I did it, and you could, and there's no, we don't even know if you're happy. You're just saying that online. We don't even know if you're happy, right? But yeah. Never relax. Came here from Ryan, and his content is all about dealing with effed up marriages. LOL. Yeah. Married red pill. That's very important. I think I'm going to be using whenever I get married. I'm probably going to be on that board a lot to fix my problems. But all right, Alex says There's a song in Spanish called Costumbres. The world can mean habits or comfort zone. The word can mean habits or comfort zone. It's an approximation, but it has a line that goes like this: La costumbre es más fuerte que el amor. Yeah, basically, guys, that translates to um, the habits are stronger than love. You know, so basically, what happens is you may not be in love. You're in a rut. You're in a habit of just doing the same thing for many years, and eventually people say, "Are you happy?" You're like, "Yeah, I guess I'm happy," but you know, you just may be. It just may be the habit of just you don't know anything else in life. Rabbit gone rogue. How you doing, Rabbit? I lose count of guys getting divorced after 3 kids. They're like, "What? I thought I completed the game." Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, marriage is not the end goal anymore. Like you guys, I don't know who taught people that. It's a feminized way of looking at it, because that's women's biological imperative, is securing a man for long-term commitment. You do not need a woman to be happy for long-term commitment. Or sorry, you do not need long-term commitment in order to be established as a man, right? I want long-term commitment at some point. I would want that, right? But I understand there's a menu that I have to look at before I start making these fantasies in my head about what a marriage should be, right? Um, Alex says, "La costumbre es más fuerte que el amor. The closest I can translate is comfort is stronger than love." Yeah, I think that's a good translation. I think that makes sense. So yeah, comfort is stronger than love, guys. Man, can you guys listen to me? All right. Uh, yeah, I getting a lot of chats. Hold on. Oop. Rabbit Gone Road. They forgot they were playing New Game Plus. Guillermo Cáceres says, spinning planes is starting to sound good to me, man. If you're a single man, you have no choice. You either working, like I always say, you either working on a big project, or you're trying to spin plates, or you're married, or in a relationship. There's you have to try to spin plates because it keeps you sane. And if you don't have the time, then dedicate yourself to a big project, something meaningful in your life. And if you're not doing either of that, then hopefully you have a girlfriend. One of those three things is going to carry you through life. You cannot, because not having any women in your life when you're bored and not doing much can really drive you crazy, right? Chunky says Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, Rainbow, Grungrave, Dororo, and Afro Samurai. All right, all good ones. I'll look at those, man. Thank you. uh, okay, let's see. Never Relax says, even if you have shared set of morals, there's no guarantee of happiness in a marriage. Some people can even be more devoted to the system contract than each other. Yeah, again, when you're more devoted to a religion, you can use that to get rid of your marriage, right? Like any woman can, you can be a Christian man married in the church, and then let's say you guys have a couple fights. The woman can go to the pastor and be like, "Yeah, I have to get divorced because he's abusive," even though it was just a couple fights. Maybe some mean things were said. So, yeah, they can easily manipulate the system to get out of a contract, right? Um, Edge Edged Barb says the pot is getting hotter. Yes, it is. The Rabbit Gone Rogue says, I think the issue with red pill guys, especially, is that they have too much pride to compromise. The ability to compromise is what a good husband does. Well, compromise what? Right? There are certain compromises that will not save your marriage ever, not even a little bit. Right? Like, here's one compromise that will never save your marriage. It will never make your marriage stronger, and that is, um, she has first crack at your libido, but she doesn't have full custody, or she doesn't have sole custody of it. Meaning, compromising your sexual needs will never make you happy, and will never make the marriage work. I promise you that, right? I've seen it over and over again. Accepting that your woman won't have sex with you or will have sex with you very rarely, and telling yourself, well, she's tired. Well, the kids, and well, obviously there's days where you in within reason, right? But there are compromises that simply do not will never ever um work, right? And that is one of them. That's just an example. And then I mean, I have compromises that I won't do, but there's a slider there's within reason, right? Like, I am a fit guy. I don't need my girl to have abs. I don't need my girl to be peak fitness all the time, low body fat, right? I understand that through pregnancy, tough times, people gain weight, and I understand that. But I will never accept a girl just letting herself go and be overweight. That's something I will never accept, right? I dedicated so many hours, hundreds, thousands of hours of my life to being in shape and living a healthy lifestyle. And now I don't get the same from my partner. Or sorry, not my partner, my wife, my girlfriend. No, that's not seen. And I think, a lot of guys think, well, it's not a big deal, accept it. I'm just like, yeah, but every day you're just gonna see her hulking gut or her cottage cheese ass because she eats too much, and you have to see that, and it's not gonna make you happy, guys. Because remember, you are number one. You are number one, not the marriage, not the kids. If you can't make yourself number one, nothing will make you. You won't never be happy in a marriage. You won't be happy single. You won't be happy in a job. You have to be number one within reason, right? Sometimes you sacrifice. Sometimes you say, well, today I gotta, put myself second and help this person or help my wife or help my kids or whatever. But for the most part, 99% of the time, you have to make yourself number one. And that's something you cannot compromise. Frame is everything. Let me see. Uh, yes, Snook speaking truths. Yes, I am. All right. Alex says, Donald Sharp said a couple years ago is that a women want positions of power with prestige and accolades, but not the responsibilities and the bullshit that comes with the position. Yeah, basically, it's like they want to LARP as men, and then when it comes to pay the check which is responsibilities and heartbreak and pain and blood, sweat, and tears. Sometimes that's not to say there's some women that deserve those positions, but what I see a lot is, you know, there's 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 certain things that come with living like a man. There's long periods of loneliness. There's, rejection. There's all these things. And as a woman, do you really want that? Do you really want that? Let's see. Trying to get the good ones. I heard that in Colombia, some guys go by themselves, end up picking up a random girl, then she drugs him and takes all his money. If he is lucky, he won't get his organs harvested. Yeah, I've heard that story. So I don't know how common it is. Maybe it's something that you have to be really unlucky for that to happen. I don't know. I think I think for the most part you'll be fine, because if that was a big issue, then people would have picked up on it now. But yeah. Oh, we got Skyrim in order. What's up, man? How you doing tonight? We got Skyrim in order in the chat, guys. Let's see. The wise words of Wario, I am number one. Yeah, just you guys got to make yourself your own point of origin, and you have to be number one in a marriage. Let me see. Chunky says, sexless marriage is a scam. Before marriage, women move their schedule around to get laid. After marriage, your schedule is not static. I can bull on any woman who claims so. Okay. Yeah. So no genuine desire anymore. All right. So yeah. So going back to the topic, you don't want to base your ultimate happiness on a marriage, right? You you have to understand, for the guys that are single, right? I know guys that are married in the chat, you guys are probably doing great in your marriage. For the guys that are single, right? And I'm in this boat too. When I started hitting my mid 30s, I'm 34 now, like around 32, 33, that's when I started saying, okay, what's next? Like, I'm doing good at work. I'm happy. I'm hitting my stride in life. The girls are getting a little easier. I'm more confident in myself. I'm more at peace with the world. Like, I understand reality. Um, so right now, you get to this questions like, okay, so marriage, right? And then you take a look at your past relationships and you're like, okay, well, this happened, and this failed here, and I messed up here, but I did better. If you're a cognizant person who cares about, the people in your life, right? You want to live a more fulfilling life because people are the most important things in our lives. You start to wonder, like, okay, so why did this not work? Or why did this friendship break up? Or what happened with this person? So you start doing a little self assessment, a little introspection. And then you realize, like, you know, a lot of the women left over silly things or small things, right? At least in my life, right? I don't know if you guys how you guys do it for, how it is for you guys, but in my life, a lot of the women left over small, silly things, things that really didn't matter that much, right? And then I left girls. I've only left one girl. I left one girl because she had an OF behind my back, and I couldn't deal with that, right? And excuse me. I left another girl because I just wasn't ready for commitment yet, right? But for the most part, most of the women in my life kind of walked out very easily, you know. So I was like, okay, cool. So in my world, women are the ones that leave for the most part. Okay, so I got to make an assessment. So is it possible that I may never find a wife, a girl that I'm like, yeah, this is the one? Is it possible? Absolutely possible, right? So, what happens to a guy who works hard his whole life? He does exactly what these turbo feminist motivational podcasts girls and guys say, like, work hard and stack your money and start 7 businesses and learn how to have sex and make sure women are comfortable and be a gentleman and give her money and whatever, all this list of things that they tell you to do in order so women can be happy, right? And you do all those things and you're like, okay. And then you get a couple girls, and maybe you get a girl here, a girl there. You're like, oh man, I'm so good with the ladies. The years pass by and all these girls kind of like slowly slip out of your life. No, really, they don't really stay or something, like you're like, what's up, And then you have what's called Fred's story, which I talked about on my last show. Like, Fred's story is basically a guy who did everything right. It was the bachelor's dream. Tall, jacked, handsome, had beautiful girls all the time. But he ended up taking his own life, sadly, because he couldn't accept that no one loved him. Like, no, he couldn't get the love of a girl. And that he banked so much, he worked so hard for that point that when he realized, like, hey, there's no girl that wants me beyond, fun and excitement, I'm taking my life. And that is what I don't want to happen to anyone. I want people to accept that beyond marriage, beyond long-term relationships, I mean, okay, that's smart. Beyond, there are things that you can dedicate life to. And that does not mean you don't have to. You can find love. It does not mean you don't. You can find other things beyond marriage to to kind of fulfill your life in time, right? Um, you can volunteer. Um, you know, give a class, take a class. There's so many things you can do in your life. You can start a podcast like I did. You can do so many things. Um, so eventually you have something to look forward to besides marriage, right? Because marriage, first off, it's risky. There's really nothing, like, if you sign the paper, there really isn't much for you. Obviously, there's guys that do it and they fully understand what they're getting into and they've done the research and they're killing it. That's great. But like for a guy like me that's never been married and had seen countless marriages, not countless, right? But a couple marriages fall apart in the grossest, most messed up way possible. That's like that's very tough. It's very tough to be like, just get married, dude. It's not a big deal. You're insecure if you're not married. I'm like, I'm insecure. Like, it's really obvious that dating is falling apart in the United States. There's so many dating podcasts. The red pill is crazy. There's people in the red pill that shouldn't be in the red pill. Everyone's using the word red pill. No one knows what they're talking about. There's dating coaches. Everyone's coming up with their own little theories as to why men and women. And then there's like there's really weak statements. And this is what makes me the most angry. Is these weak statements that pass off responsibility on everything else except what really is destroying the marriage market, right? So, like, you'll have weak statements that say, hey, like, people aren't dating to marry. What does that even mean? People are dating to marry? That does not even what? Like, can someone explain what dating to marry is? Is it women that are 30 years old on Hinge that say, "Hey, I'm not looking to hook up. I want a full-on mail order husband already come in the box. I've done nothing but eat, gain weight, have sex with random dudes, make bad decisions, and I've done zero work on myself besides going to a therapist to tell me that I'm a victim. And then now I want a mail order husband already complete, 34, six figures, tall, handsome. That's what I deserve." Do you really want to get into a marriage with someone like that? Dating to marry. Yeah, if we're 22 and 23 and we have that on our profile, then that would make sense, right? But as a guy, you cannot just go around dating to marry, right? Because there is not much in it for you. And here's the other side of that coin. Most women don't give a shit about what your requirements are for a wife. They just think, well, I exist. So what am I supposed to do as a guy? I'm going through life. I worked so hard in my life, and I'm like, okay, well, time to find a wife, mid 30s. Let's see what's out there. And going through my um kind of like dating experience, guys, and this is a pure experience, right? This is like 60 women I've been on dates with, right, in the last couple years, 2 years, right, maybe 2.5 years. And I can tell you right now, women are making decisions every day that puts them farther and farther away from marriage, right? And men make decisions every day that puts them even closer to marriage, right? I understand that there's a lot of guys that don't give a shit. They just play video games. They're checked out, right? But let's talk about the guys that actually care, that actually see, hey, I want to get married at one day. So let me at least, work hard and go to the gym, nothing crazy, the basic stuff, right? Every day, every weight you lift, every time you show up to work on time, ready to work, every time you pick up a book about, I don't know, red pill or psychology or anything that helps you understand yourself and people better, anything, every day you eat something healthy, you're getting yourself closer to a happy marriage because when you eat healthy, you look hot so you can attract a hot girl that you like. So now your sex life is going to be healthy because now you're like, okay, well, I'm hot, she's hot. Let's bang, sex life is going to be great, right? Being hot also passive dread. If you're an attractive guy, you won't have to like not manipulate, but you don't have to actively dread your girl. So you already passive dread, so that solves that problem. You'll last longer. You'll be able to pick up your kids and chase your kids around because you're fit. You're not going to be in the hospital when you're 50 for 10 years, in and out of the hospital, right? You are doing the things that keep you, that will increase the chances of you being happy in a marriage. You yourself, you, not the woman, you understand that if you want to be happy in a marriage, you have a burden of performance, right? And then you work hard, you show up to work, you take extra shifts, you know, maybe you put off that trip, the boys trip to Cancun or to Colombia, right? Maybe you start investing, 401k, all these things, because in the future, at one time and one point, you're going to have to support a family because that's your burden of performance as a man, right? Okay, cool. And then there's other little smaller things. Maybe you learn a little game, whatever other things that help out. Maybe you pick up an interesting hobby, any number of things, right? Now let's go to the women's side, right? And this is not totally their fault. I understand that women have agency, but also they have an immense pressure to be absolutely promiscuous, to dislike and fear men's commitment, being committed to a man. There's extreme fear, extreme pressure, so you can't really blame them that much, right? So women's side. Okay, so women have their little hoe faces. That's okay. I don't think 99% of women will not have my body count, so it doesn't really bother me that much unless they bring their problems from past men or past lifestyle to my doorstep. Then no, right? Or a public, their pictures out there in public or whatever, right? So, um, so every day that a woman, and people think, oh, it's all about the age. No, no, no. Like it's not only age, right? There's some great 27, 28-year-olds that, you know, have made a lot of good decisions, and maybe they just got widowed or the boyfriend left them at an opportune moment, whatever happened, right? But um, women sleep around, right? That takes a toll on a woman's body and a woman's mind. Whatever you think, I understand that body count isn't really that big a deal these days, but a woman's body count does have a say in her quality as a woman, whether it be 50% or 10%, that depends on the man. But that's up to the man. And that's the part they hate, is that men are the ones that decide whether our bodies are too much. But we'll never know for sure. We just look at the behaviors. So they take trips overseas, right? They drink a lot. Women are surpass or American women drink or binge drink more than any other woman in the world, right? So women are binge drinkers. So they binge drink. They buy their wine bottles. They go out and party, girls' nights. They go to Miami, New York. So they constantly live this party lifestyle, right? They live more exciting lives than men because other men are sponsoring them. Taking them out to vacations, going to the club, and all that stuff, right? Um, the burden of performance they have a little bit because they're working jobs that are masculine sometimes, corporate jobs, cutthroat jobs, engineering jobs, doctors, all these things that may not be blue collar, but it still takes a lot of energy. So you know everything women do nowadays takes them farther than marriage, right? It takes a very high IQ or very cognizant woman to look at this and be like, I have to find myself a man and balance this. Let's see how I can balance. But there's very few women that know that, right? So now you've worked all hard all your life, and now you're presented with a woman your age or maybe a little less, and now you expect that you're gonna beat this 14% statistic of being happily married. Are you like are you really gonna get with that 30-year-old? Like, do you think that's the best thing forward for a gender that doesn't really care about getting married until it's too late? You know, it doesn't seem like a good plan. Let me read you some of these chats. All right, let's see what we got here. Ocean Man says, this whole talk reminds me of a video of a Japanese comedian. The video was about how Japanese wives evolved from cutesy maidens into nagging kaijus after marriage. Was that Joe Coy that said that? I think it was Joe Coy. Yeah, something like that. Let me see. John Smith says he gets stripped of his wants and needs, all built for nothing. Are you? I'm guessing that's reference to Fred's story, right? Thanks, John, for the comment. Skyreminal Order says it's all a blender of retardation, nuke, all of it. Yeah, it's really you got to make your own way and kind of look at it from your angle. Stop, don't let people convince you. Obviously, I have my thoughts on it, but you have to. I just said a statistic. I'm not saying yes or no, get married, right? I'm just saying think. Think about it. There's really not much in it for you. Sounds about right. Delusional 35-year-old girls. Yeah, guys, I am dating. I have dated several women in their mid 20s, mid to early 20s, right? And they value their freedom and their trips, and that stuff goes on for like 10 years. They just want to travel, 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 and all that stuff. And then they think at the end of that line that they're gonna find you waiting with a bouquet of flowers, you know, and you're gonna be like, "Yep, here I am." It's just like, no, that's not how that works. Hold on. Guillermo Cáceres says 35 years, child. I only know two happy marriages, and I suspect about a third one here on the other side of the wall. Doesn't look good. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't look good but that's not your fault. So don't worry about it. Ocean Man, mail order husbands comes with accessories if you pay express shipping. Yeah, it's basically you, women want a mail order husband. They do not want to put in the work that it takes to build with a man anymore. Like man, I just don't see it. Every younger girl I date, for the most part, like 18 to 27, I'm paying for everything. They show up here and there, they're either very like just once in a while want to hang out, or they want to hang out a lot, but also just like not like I don't know, there's just no connection there. There's no incentive to be with me. They're just there because I fill the boyfriend quota or the side guy quota, right? Remember, women are the main characters. They think they're the main characters in life, right? So you can see this on many Instagrams where there's like 20 pictures of her and one picture of her boyfriend maybe eating at a food truck or something or on a beach, and that's it. And their whole Instagram is, and they're not selling anything. They're not model. They're just simply their boyfriend is simply just a placeholder. And that's what we are in life, right? We already turned society over to women. They're the main character right now. We have to let them be the main character, right? And part of them being the main character is that the institutions that only benefit them, we can't participate. Like, you're the main character. You want, this is what feminism gave you. I am not going to marry you if you decided to do everything in your power to make yourself less desirable during marriage. Because even if I said, yeah, I don't care about the trips and the body count and all that thing, right? In the moment, in 2 years, it may start bothering me. I may start getting made fun of because of my wife. My wife may start not respecting me because I put up with too much of her BS, right? And then marriage fails. That's why it's better to have boundaries up front in any relationship, even with your friends, even with work, everything. Set your boundaries hard up front. That way, later on, you don't like these problems don't fester. I'm pretty sure that's really good advice for any relationship or work or anything, right? Um, Chunky says, I do want to get married one day. I don't want kids, so the marriage is mostly just a formality. The Middle East seems to be the only place left with women who share most of my values. Yeah. I mean, there's Latin America. And then, guys, there's good women out there in the United States, right? It just takes a lot of work to find them. If you're willing to put up the work, and I am, right? I've slowed down a little bit because I've become busy. I lost a little bit of patience, but there are good women out there. Like I said in my thread, but there's going to be some checkpoints or some gates that you have to really going to have to deal with, right? Like there's women, a lot of women have debt. Like I said in my other video, if you're making 120K and a girl comes up to me like, I have 12K in debt, you know, and you're doing well in life, I would be like, hey, start paying it off. I'll match what you pay, and we're gonna talk about your finances. You're not gonna be with me unless you fix your financial habits. Maybe you can do that. That depends on the man. I would do that if I was doing well, like really well off. Like well beyond six figures. I would be like, okay, well, you're a dumb 25-year-old girl. You don't know what you're doing with your finances. You didn't pay off your student loans. I could make you pay them off, but you know what? I'll help you for and then obviously she has to be in your frame. She has to be really about you and be in love with you. But that's the route I would take. It's basically like a dowry, something like that. So, all right. Chunky says, I'm a prude. Body count greater than zero is too much for me. Higher education with debt is a no go too. Just a simple with no baggage girl is more my speed. Yeah, there's no such thing as a virgin man. You're going to have to let that one go, especially here in the United States. You have to either join a religion that guarantees you one or, and then the debt stuff, not all girls are buried in debt. Maybe they have like 3K, 4K, 5K, right? But understand too, women are pretty bad with money and they're going to bring that to your doorstep, you know? Excitement isn't cheap. Even if, because also on the other side of that, a lot of women don't like when men pay for their excitement. Whether it be getting into clubs, trips, they want to pay for their own stuff because they're also, they're very subscribed to the independent lifestyle. They don't like men supporting them, right? So what they do is they pay for their own stuff because that makes them feel empowered, and then they end up being in debt. And this is from experience. I've seen it so many times. Let's see. Edge says, I've been married. F marriage, cohabitation is infinitely better. Marriage is like getting a Corvette versus Toyota. Yeah. So I've heard, my friend. So let's go through some Navy stories. Let's see. Navy stories. Hold on. I'm just making sure. Okay. So, um, okay, let me just set this up. Okay, so Navy story. So, so there was several marriages that I saw. There was a marriages that were straight out of boot camp. Like you get to your first command after boot camp, and people thought it was a good idea to get married. So what they do is get married. They get the BAH, and then end up. Oh, they find out they hate each other, and they break up, and the divorce is nasty. Not that nasty, right? Because neither of them have anything, barely anything to your name. So they just get divorced. It's pretty clean divorce and all that stuff. Uh, and then there's the guys that divorce, or sorry, they get married and then they come back from deployment and then they come back to an empty house or they come back to, a cheating wife and all that, right? So when I got back from my first deployment in 2016, I got back. I was from the Middle East. It was a long 8 month deployment at sea, and we got back. And when I when we got back, like half our division either got divorced or found their wife cheating, and then they got divorced and all that stuff. Um, so there was one guy who, when he got home, his wife was showering, and he saw a text. The phone buzzed, and there was a text, and he saw the text, and he was like, there was a guy saying some stuff, and then he divorced her. He found out, there was some cheating involved, and divorced her. There's another guy who got divorced, but he was kind of weird, and I could see why he would get divorced. He's just so socially awkward that he didn't have not a lot of human being skills. So and then there was another guy. Let me see. Um, so many guys. I'm trying to think. Mm, okay, so trying to put faces to names. Um, yeah. Okay, so there was one person that got divorced on our like filed after their second deployment. We were deployed out to the Arctic Circle, kind of Europe, that area, and we got back. And the way he found out was that he was one of those guys that's really like controlling the finances, but not in a good way. Like he had a kid. He had like a 3-year old kid with cystic fibrosis. And I met the wife was Miss Teen North Carolina, so she was a pageant queen, right? She was one of those gals. So they were a very handsome couple. That he looked like a Ken doll, and she was like a blonde Barbie kind of thing, right? The guy really, like, he was really down to earth, trusting me guy. He even, when he was getting divorced, he showed me a video of his wife. He was sad, but he was dealing with it pretty well, right? And he was sad, and then he kind of like looked at his wife like, "This is my wife, and I can't believe I paid for those for implants, right?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm like, oh, I remember we were in the chow line, and he was telling me like, yeah, I paid for those implants, and now some other guy gets to enjoy them." He said it jokingly too, so I'm like, sorry, man. And then he actually showed me a picture of his wife's chest, like bare chest. He's like, "Yep, check it out." And I was like, "Oh, very nice, man. Like, very nice." So it's like it was like very weird. He got really weird into it, but he carried on. He handled it pretty well. So what happened was he was checking the phone bill, right? He was checking his finance. He was checking the phone, and on the phone bill there was like, he could see the calls. Um, so the calls were like to numbers on his wife's phone that he didn't know, right? So I think they had an argument, and he got her, and she did, and then they filed for divorce, right? So um, apparently she was messing around with an Air Force guy, and while he was gone, I don't know how long it had been going on for, and everyone thought they were like the perfect couple, the all American couple, and all that stuff. Um, and when he came back, there was a lot of like child custody stuff. There were days where he couldn't make it to duty because on time because his wife was, you know, hungover and across the state because she ran off with a guy for the night with the baby, so she couldn't make it back in time. So, or sorry, she couldn't make it in time back to pick up his son, so he can go to duty. Like arrangement they had, right? So it was not. It was a pretty sad story. It wasn't. It's not ideal. You I wish. I wish it didn't have to be like that. But yeah, that's how a lot of divorces. I mean, I have other stories, but I had to see it every day in person, like the train wreck that was that, unemployment, all the things you have to deal with, right? But yeah, it's not pretty. So yeah, divorce sucks, but um, ultimately, you guys gotta accept that is gonna. It's not that you don't want to be married because I think most men at one point in their life are like, I want a marriage and a wife that loves me. That's normal want, right? But you also gotta understand that now that the divorce laws are not on your side, now that religion is not on your side, now that the status quo, like the Overton window, is not on your side, now that um women in general are not on your side, right? Now that men in general are not on your side, right? Now that science is not on your side, nothing is on your side but you, right? Your children are probably not going to be on your side. More judges are becoming females. You know what that means? Most judges are not going to be on your side. Family court, everything is against you, right? So while you're in this marriage, think, think about you personally, not anyone else but you. Do you think you could be happy knowing all those things? And having signed the paper. What are ways you can get around this? Well, maybe you can not sign the paper. You can give your wife a ring and be like, this is whatever you want it to be. It can be an engagement ring, marriage ring. This is whatever you want it to be. Commitment ring. And a lot of women are okay with that. A little token of your commitment. A lot of women are okay with that. Right. My last serious girlfriend, she didn't care about a ceremony. Right. She just said, hey, we can go to the courthouse if you want in the future. And that's a good sign from a woman who says, like, I don't care about a ceremony, a 10,000, 20,000, $30,000 marriage. I just want you. Like, as long as I get you, then that's all I need. And that's a good sign, right? We can go to the courthouse or whatever, right? To which I would just say, hey, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, tell everyone we're married, wear your ring, take 20 photos if you want. We can go do a photo shoot, but I'm not signing the paper, but I am with you, right? And now what you've done is like, hey, now you get the privilege of choosing me every day. There's no consequence for leaving each other. If you want to leave, you can leave. If I want to leave, I can leave. We're here because we want to be. And I think that creates a healthier environment, right? I've never been declared my commitment that way to a woman, but that's the way I would do it, right? Because I don't want to risk those other things, and I don't want to risk unhappiness because on the other side of my wife not being happy is that, right? Other men are different. They think differently, or maybe they got married and things are just going swell. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and that's perfect, right? But for a guy that's not married yet, that has a lot to lose and is really enjoying being single, why would I risk everything just so I can appease people that I don't even know? You know. Alex says, "Here's my first army horror story. So I repeated to my unit. That I reported to my unit in Germany at Stork Barracks at the 6th Squadron, 6th U.S. Cavalry, 1st Infantry Division, the big red one. To be continued. Continued. So I got there on Monday. The weekend came. So there was a sergeant who will not be named. Got on a bus, went on a trip to Paris, France, without his wife. To be continued. Um, never pay for implants or injections. A woman who chases that much validation is a lost cause. Yeah. Um, yeah. That's a topic for another day, but I can see that. Um, don't know why he went without her, and guess who was hanging out at the single soldiers barracks? His wife. Good, I was told who she was. Damn. It's just like in the military, it's just so visceral, so in your face, man. It's like so thrown in your face. At least in the civilian world, they kind of hide it, and that but the military is just it's just right there in your face. So, um, Edge says, "Don't live in a state with laws that restrict cohabitation." Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's worth it to move states just so like you can get the best deal for marriage or for cohabitation or for whatever. I think what you just do is just simply, game the system. There's got to be loopholes, and also realize, guys, that being with a woman, living with a woman, there's always going to be some kind of risk. Right? You can't live a risk-free life. There's going to be risk for being in a relationship. There always is. It's part of life. But at the same time, you don't want any other risk that you don't need to take. Um, yep, only like 7 states still accept common law marriage. Most have rightfully outlawed it, although the rising female judge population could change. Bachelor tax incoming 3-2. Yeah. Let's see. Before you get married, too, I would say go find a divorce attorney. Pay for an hour or two of his time to know every single law that can screw you over. Don't go to your trad account or your church. Go to your divorce attorney in your city or in your state and find out, hey, educate me. Here's money for 2 hours of your time. I want to be educated. And boom, you'll be way better off. TFM was saying that in the military, women to just come up and ask if you want to F. Yeah. Bull Rush. What's up, Bull Rush? Nice to have you in the chat. I was an MP at Camp Pendleton. I got stories. Yeah, man. Like, whew. There are stories where, like, man, how did it get that bad? Like, there were some bad stories. Um, yeah, women in uniforms, that world, man, it's the craziest world. And I was a nuke. I didn't even have time for that kind of stuff, but I still saw it. There was some crazy stuff, right? But yeah, see if there's any other comments in this. Um, let me see. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just get so many notifications here. No. Anyways, I think I found it. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put it up on the screen now. Okay, here we go. Let me read some more comments in here. You guys are gonna find these funny. All right, so a lot of people are accepted. Like, yeah, they can't argue with it. Let me see here. This is Cole. Create well. Take your family to Europe. Location doesn't add frame. People are like, that's not how statistics works. Yeah, well, how does statistics work then? Right? Would you get on a plane if the statistics for plane crashes were like 5% chance of you dying on a plane? No, you would not get on a plane. Or 10%? No. So is that how statistics only work for things that you want to work in your favor? Is that what that is? Does that make sense to you? Let's see. We are taught that marriage is a cross, it's a sacrifice. Of course, doesn't mean you should be miserable. And why don't you go in thinking it's going to be a field trip? The thing is, all it takes for a marriage to fail is one person thinking it's going to be a field trip. I know that marriage is not going to be easy. I know that there's a lot of times where it's going to suck. And I don't mean suck forever. I mean suck for like a day or two. I suck for a month. Suck for 2 months at most. But um what if the other person doesn't think that? You know, and it doesn't matter how much what you think or your morals are. If the other person doesn't want to be married, you're done. You're not dealing with yourself. You can go to the gym and get jacked. Can you convince a woman to go get jacked or lose weight? It's difficult. Like it's so difficult to tell a woman, "Hey, stop. Like lose 10 pounds, lose 20 pounds, and you be a good weight." How many stories of guys who failed to get their wife or girlfriend to lose weight, right? And you're gonna bank that just because you are healthy and in shape that the other person is just gonna follow suit. No, that's something that does not usually happen. You know. Let's see. We got a whole bunch of replies. I don't really respond to Pastor Don Milton. He's kind of a weirdo. Okay, there will be times when you'll be happy. There will be times when you're just kind of there. There are ups and downs. That said, I would tend to disagree with that statement. Yeah, well, I'm not trying to be a doomer. I'm not trying to look at this from a don't get married. It's all over, guys. I'm just trying to look like, hey, if you think that being married is the ultimate goal, you're at risk to becoming Fred. So please think like you cannot bank your whole happiness on this institution that doesn't really support, that doesn't really work anymore. We got Doge Coin Billionaire, oh boy, with the Johnny Bravo profile pic. I'm as anti-marriage as anyone, but this is a brokey mindset. Statistically speaking, you also never be rich, never own a profitable business, never date a 10 out of 10, never be in elite shape, never be above average in any domain. Defiance of statistics is what it's all about. Yes, but if you never become rich, are you going to end your life? Does not becoming rich have any consequences? Oh, you're not rich, but hey, now you make 250K a year. Oh, you know, hey, you never did out of 10 out of 10. Hey, but you did it 8 out of 10 who cooks and cleans. Um, so, but marriage is like, if a marriage doesn't work, you're freaking miserable. And you getting out of a marriage, giving up on becoming rich doesn't mean you automatically fail at life. Or it doesn't have a very bad consequence, right? Obviously, you could start a business, it can fail, and you file for bankruptcy or whatever. But like for the most part, being attempting to get rich, unless you do it illegally, doesn't really have that many consequences if you fail. Besides, you put in a lot of hard work, right? For marriage, if a marriage fails, you can lose a lot if you sign the paper, right? And the number one group of men who off themselves are, post-divorce men. So right now, guys, think: are you willing to lose everything that you've ever worked for something that most likely you won't be happy in, and the other person will end, right? So, I'm saying, like, think about that stuff. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you how to think. None of these people know how to think. They know what to think. And what to think is, I'm special and my marriage will work because I'm special. I'm like, sure, dude, yeah. You're special, you're different. Somehow you figured it out, you're better than everyone. You have the key to a happy marriage. You've never been married, or you've only been you married in a time without social media or whatever. Um Great. You're very special. Cool. Hope is a strategy. Thanks for the hope is a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. It never will be. It never will be. Get that out of your head. Hope is not a strategy. You need a healthy mental model to attack these problems. It's not your fault that marriages are falling apart. It's not your fault that social media has rendered, or sorry, technology has rendered the genders' need for each other almost irrelevant. It's not your fault. However, because of these things that are out of your control and are not your fault, you have to take a little responsibility and think, okay, now, what does that mean for me? Women get 100, 200, 1,000 messages per month, um, hundreds of matches per week on dating apps. What is that? How does that affect me and my prospect for marriage? Think, okay, well, now, I have to stand out. You do the work, right? But now understand, what if I'm in a marriage and my wife gets a little tired of me, right? And now she has access to hundreds of thousands of men all over the world. You know, does that I know that women fall in love and I know women get attached, right? But as a lot of players in here, they have dealt with married women that looked happy in marriages, you know, and you're not above that happening to you. It can happen to any man. The point is that you know what will happen or what to do when the worst happens, right? That's all I'm saying. You must know what to do when the worst happens or know how to prevent the worst from happening. If you can't handle the worst, stay out completely. That's what I'm saying, right? You cannot live life based on hope. You will die. You will not make it through life based on hope. You will constantly be failing because you never made a concrete strategy like, hey, maybe instead of hoping that I'm going to be happily married, let me make a list of things that I can do. That first off, I want to get married. Do I want to get married? Question one, do I want to get married? Yes, no. How do I know? You figure it out. You go on your life journey, and throughout life, maybe you see a couple with a baby pushing a stroller, and it warms your heart. And you're just like, oh, I want that. That would be nice. She looks like a good girl. The guy looks, like a good husband. I want that. Maybe not now, but eventually I want that. Okay, so let's say you do want marriage. All right, so how do you make a good marriage? All right, so okay, old order thinking doesn't work because our world is different. So you can't accept old order thinking advice, like giving your wife flowers every week. Maybe that works, but for the most part, you know, that okay, so you arm yourself with knowledge, you read the red pill, you do the work, gym, all that stuff, but then you also do it for yourself. You learn about women, you date women, so you understand their ins and outs, what makes them tick, right? You get into a relationship to see, women on the day to day. Okay, you put in the work, right? You read the stories of men, the field reports, the men that made it and the men that failed, and you take, you know, and a lot of these guys aren't willing to do that, but they just because hope is their strategy, right? A guy that wants to get married has to put in the work to understand, like has to put in the work so his marriage at least has a good chance of making it above 14%, right? And the part that everyone misses is that before you go through something, understand that the mental health effects of you going through something, right? You may not know in the moment, but look at the people who've gone through something and what is on the other side of that. If you see that a lot of men are mentally destroyed after a divorce, think, how do I not do that? I'm not better than those guys. A lot of the guys probably just, were good husbands. They did what they were supposed to do and they got mentally destroyed, completely shattered, right? And lost everything. So, how does that not happen to you? The best way is to simply accept that maybe marriage isn't for you, right? That could be the plan B. The plan A is the marriage, but plan B, if 5 years in you haven't found a good girl, you haven't held a stable relationship, you know, you seem really chill and content on your own, maybe marriage isn't for you. Don't let someone on the internet tell you what's for you. You have to figure it out, you know? Marriage, yes, marriage is good for families. Marriage is good for society. That's how we got here. But it's not your job to fix society at the cost of your sanity. Think, just please think before you do something like this. You don't owe anyone an explanation, except yourself, right? Let me get some of these chats. Let's see. Edge Barb says nothing beats the perfect mental state, better than sex. LOL. Yeah. um Being at peace as a man is really hard these days, but once you achieve that, you're gonna realize like women were never part of the peace. Hold on, let me turn on some lights. Okay. um but yeah, that's basically what it is. Perfect mental state. I mean, it's not gonna be always perfect, but Guillermo Casada says, I mean, if you have a fifth fight, at least yes, you have to know she still care for you. Oh, if you have a fight. Okay, okay, I get you. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it depends. Um, so I'm just saying, just do the work, man. Like for anyone, just do the work. Don't just rely on hope as a strategy for your marriage to work. You know, you don't want hope. Spencer says, "Great show. Been doing stuff around the house while I listen. You've got a new sub. Thanks, man. Also, guys, I'm about to hit 500. I'm like 10 away. Guys, please get me to 500, and then you guys can start sending me super chats, and I can buy Tadashi new treats and stuff, and keep him off the pole. So, thanks, guys, for your support." Um, Edge says, "I'd never off myself. I might consider the opposite of that, but not myself." Yeah. You don't want to put yourself in a position like that. I say so. Some wisdom. A lot of people, especially men, we have this thing where we think we can mentally beat everything that's thrown at us, right? We look at people that are depressed or have anxiety attacks or going through a bad time, and we're like, man, if that were me, I'd just power through. And I'm like, really? Because I used to think that things like anxiety attacks were like not bad, right? But I used to think, man, it's usually affects people that are just not mentally tough. And then I had a real anxiety attack, and I was like, this is one of the worst feelings I've ever felt in my life. I will never make fun of anyone with anxiety issues again because I felt like I was gonna die. And I've been through some shit in my life, right? So for guys that think, oh, if I get divorced, you just move on. Like, it's just not a big deal. You just kind of accept it. I was like, you've never gone through something like that, and you don't know what it implies. You're not even a dad yet. You don't even know what it means to not be able to see your kids or get your kids taken away or have some kind of weirdo in the house with your kids. You don't understand the hurt and the pain. If so many men are dropping out and losing their minds from divorce, it's because it's not easy. Think like, come on, guys. Like, don't think that you're some kind of super masculine alpha that can take anything in life. Everyone goes through celebrities, rich people, poor people. Whenever they lose their wife, they go through it. Athletes perform less. People lose their jobs because their performance goes down. They get depressed. They get bitter. They sometimes they never recover. They're just bitter for the rest of your lives, right? So instead of like thinking, "Oh, I'm better than that," think I don't want to be put in that position in the first place. So how to avoid that as much as I can, you know? Chunky says, I like to think that one can reach reasonable satisfaction in life solo. Marriage is just a possible addition to eke a little more satisfaction out of life. Cool to have if it works, but not necessary. There you go, guys. That's a really good way of looking at life. Marriage isn't the end state. You're not a woman. You don't need long term security from the opposite gender. You don't need it. You need someone to bear your children, maybe, and if you want children. And I can tell you right now, learn some game, make some money. There's beautiful women all over the world that are not the United States. You know, if you want to have kids, that's a plan C or a plan D. Let's say I'm 40 and I still haven't found a girl that's not insane to have my children. So I was like, okay, well, I speak Spanish. I'm Dominican. I can go to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Colombia, Mexico, any of those countries, which I already understand their cultures. Show up, go a couple times, get a girl, get a decent girl, to be in my frame. You know, shouldn't be that hard because I was raised in Latin America, so I'm not some goober that is going overseas for the first time. You know, and I'll be like, hey, let's have kids. I want to continue my legacy, right? There's always a plan C and a plan D, right? And there's more to life than marriage, guys. Buy a motorcycle, you know, build something, get hobbies, Alex Patino says, from Terrence Pop using the Artard voice, she's different and she loves me. Yep, every single time. I've heard that from so many other guys in the Navy. It's so sad. Hmm. If you prepare yourself to help people, to be capable of helping people, in case of the SHTF, you will find women do pretty much anything to make you part of their life. In case shit hit the fan, okay. Yeah. And understand too, guys, that like women leave for no reason. No matter how jacked, tall, handsome you are, women will leave. It's just they have too many options, the illusion of choice, the burden of choice. Their girlfriends don't want you to be together. You know the do you know the that it's 160% more likely for a woman to divorce you if her friends have been divorced. So you're gonna put that on yourself? Are you really gonna go? Are you really gonna go there? So why depend on marriage for happiness? If it happens, if it happens, it happens. If it's not, then realize like, hey, it's not your fault. You're not less of a man because you don't subscribe or you couldn't find a decent person to get married. It just simply means that you have to find something else in life, you know. And it still could be fatherhood. It still could be a long term relationship, right? Like I predict myself that I'm going to be a single father. I don't want it to be like that. I'll fight to be in my. I'll fight to be married. You know, at a reasonable level, right? But if I'm a single father, I'm not gonna look at myself and be like, "What a failure! You're suck." No, I'm just gonna be like, "Well, my life's changed. I will have a kid, and I will raise that kid. Hopefully, I didn't have it with a psycho or or person. And if the person does not want me to raise a kid, I'll see the kid when I'm 18. I know that sounds grim, but right, sometimes the more you fight for custody, the less chance you'll get custody, right? I don't maybe some divorce guys can corroborate that, but I'll see you when I'm 18, when you guys are 18. And then after there, most of their life they're going to be older than 18. So you have them for the rest of your life, right? It's not that bad, guys. Just it's only bad if you subscribe to the old model of living. Mm, Chunky says that's too bittersweet, isn't it? Her interest in you completely self-serving. Why not a woman who has to have you because you're her perfect man? Um, Both. I think it's both. I mean, some women are enamored by just what you represent and what you are because you represent an ideal, but also they want you for their own purposes. And I think that's healthy to be both. You know, I want a woman to be able to think for herself and be a little selfish too, but not what we have now. You know, like I don't want what we have now. But yeah, guys. Basically that's all I have. You know, long show went on longer. Got a little passionate, but I just the main goal is to you put in the work, understand that marriage may not be in the books for you, or it may, but understand you cannot see it as the finish line, right? That's what's killing people. That's what's making guys go crazy. That's why people are fighting me in the comments because to them, marriage is the end goal. It's once I get there, life is gonna be I'm gonna figure everything out. And I'm like, no, it's just a different part of your life. You'll still have problems. You'll still have things you have to take care of. You'll still have things you want to build on. You just have humans that you got to take care of. You just have a wife that may add a little bit of a different flavor to your life, right? But it cannot be the end goal. And hope is not a strategy. You can't just hope that because you're a man and you look at other men going through stuff, you can be like, nah, I can handle that. I'm better. I read The Rational Male. I'm like, no, so what? The red pill isn't about securing an outcome. The only outcome the red pill cares about is making sure to give you power in the dating marketplace, in the sexual marketplace, and a positive male identity. And sometimes that positive male identity requires you to be a single father, happy, working in your life, picking up the kids on the weekend. They love you. Or maybe wait till they're 18 and be like, Mom said you're a bad person. I'm like, no, she just didn't want me around you. Hey, you guys wanna go a trip? I'm rich now. I got money. I'll spoil you guys. Oh, by the way, I'm paying for your college, you know. But mom said you were bad. No, I just didn't want to fight the courts. I just was gonna wait till you guys grew up. You know, I love you guys. You know, whatever mental model, whatever future scenario you think, you know, it's gonna be okay. You know, it's only not okay if you think hope is a strategy, right? Positive male identity. That's what we're here for. We're not here to appease the feminists. We're not here to appease the trads. We're not here to appease the people that think that they're just so good that marriage is going to work out for them just because they lift weights and they read the rational male and they dress well and they're just a high value man. I'm like, nope, high value man does not guarantee shit. Positive male identity, living life at peace, going to sleep every night, knowing that you did your best, you didn't lose your mind. All right, guys, that's all I have. So, thank you guys for watching the show. Um, Go ahead and like and subscribe to my like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Get me to 500. I'm like 10 away or something like that, 5 away. I don't know if I'm going to do a 500 subscriber celebration or not, but I appreciate you guys' time for watching this video. If you have any suggestions or comments, please comment below, and I'll catch you guys next time. You guys have a good night. And where is my outro? Ah, here we go.